The Niners are kind of all of a sudden the story again, which
Yeah.
which leads me to you.
Well, it's a fun time because it's similar to when Jim Harbaugh took over a team that was not very good, but you didn't realize how many good players were there. And all of a sudden, the last year, you saw when they finally got a coach with Kyle and with John's vision, and what they've done is just huge in just embracing what, the heritage and the full measure of what the Niners are and were. And then Kyle with his play calling, like his dad or better. I mean, it's unbelievable what offense that he runs. And they just, all of a sudden you get these players, and they've drafted well, and they got the quarterback with Jimmy, and last year, they didn't win a lot of games, but I don't know, I could feel that they were a pretty good team if they could get healthy. I didn't know that it could be like this, where they just dominated, but it's exciting because I don't know that they're not going to continue to dominate, but I would tell this team, and I talked to the team briefly, do not think you're going to go to the playoffs every year. That's a mistake that everyone makes. You get one shot at the playoffs and you can treat it like it's life or death. And hopefully that's the way they're looking at it tomorrow.
You spoke to the guys?
Yeah. Just as a little playoff preview, a few weeks ago, just to give them some context. So I appreciate Kyle having me down. But and it was fun because got a little glimpse of how they're looking at the offense and how I remember sitting there as they introduced the first 15 and like they historically have done with Bill Walsh, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd like to run that play and run that play. There's some good stuff that Kyle does.
What's special about this team, aside from the X's and O's, aside from the roster and where the guys are from and their dedication, what's special about this team?
They have a great locker room. And what I mean by that is the leaders of the locker room are the hardest working guys. The leaders of that locker room have some history. And I can tell, a couple years ago, I told him a story about Ronnie Lott yelling in my face, I got your back at a really pivotal time when no one else would talk to me. Ronnie pulled me aside and looked me in the eye and said, I got your back, don't worry about anything. And I think that I told him that because even if you're losing games like they were last year and even the year before, if you have that spirit that everyone's accountable, no one's finger pointing, a great locker room that doesn't wait for the coach to fix everything, you can self-police. That's what they had last year. You could feel it. They had a good locker room. And so I thought to myself, they can get healthy and a couple more players. That's the rootedness of why they're 13-3. The rootedness is because they have a great group of guys that self-police. And everything that I talked about a couple years ago, and I got your back, all that stuff, they really exude. And that's why you can call great plays, you can play great defense. In the end, that doesn't win it. The win it is because you got 50 guys that truly back each other.